Praise be his name. I come to bear witness that there is no other God but Jehovah, and that Jesus Christ is his only Son, a prophet and Savior of the world. That there is no other name whereby men shall be saved but by and through the name of Jesus Christ, and at the name of Jesus every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ, the only Son of the most sovereign, omnipotent God, is Lord. Grace and mercy to the world and to my kingdom, brothers and sisters. Peace be unto you, and God be glorified. And as Paul said, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. As we move forward in this new series that I believe is going to bless the body of Christ, and particularly the church here at Conquerors Christian Center, aka the Fort, I believe that God is beginning to do a fresh thing with us, and we trust that this fresh thing that God has put on my heart will also be fresh in the minds of other conscious preachers, and particularly black preachers that will be conscious enough to understand that no longer can we just go through the motion, but we must be super intentional about whatever we do when it's concerning our people. Just as a footage note is that right now in America, African Americans are running like third and fourth as minorities. We are so far behind, it is ridiculous. And God has given me a mandate to be able to at least challenge those thoughts and to get some of our people moving in the right direction, whereby we can begin to make some gains in our lives, our families, our communities, as well as in our own personal business. Go with me in your Bibles to Matthew chapter 22, and we'll be reading from verse 35 down through 40. Therewith will I draw the text as a foundational scripture for this series. Again, Matthew chapter 22, starting at verse 25 down through 40, is where I will extract the text. And the word of God reads in Matthew chapter 35, it says, Then one of them which was a lawyer asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. Verse 39, he says, And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. And I'm going to use for a text as far as the series is entitled Reclaiming Black Wealth. Reclaiming Black Wealth. And the text this morning is, Where has the money gone? Where has the money gone? The reason why I think it's critical for black preachers and others to be involved in this particular narrative moving forward, because it appears now that African Americans have allowed themselves to come into the permanent underclass. We have allowed ourselves to sink solo until it's going to take God and us to pull ourselves out of the mess that we're currently in. The reason why this is even more critical is because it appears that we have dropped the ball. We have not done what we should have done, and we have been so mesmerized by being around other race groups until we are now asking the question, where has the money gone? As we move forward, I want to take you to a continent that was named Africa. And that's what I said. It's a continent that was named Africa, but Africa is not the original name for the continent. The Romans, after the Romans' invasions and many other invaded that continent, when Rome went back to Rome, they decided the easy way to remember what the continent was, and that was to call it Africa. But the original name of Africa, of that continent, is called Akebulan. Akebulan, that's Alikebulan, Akebulan. And the word Akebulan means mother of mankind. It also means Garden of Eden. And it also means the land of the blacks. Akebulan, the land of the blacks. The reason why that's important is because being in the land of the blacks and our ancestors coming from the land of the blacks, it's critical for us to understand that God had ordained it so for us to be where we are. And that's why the word is broken down into Garden of Eden, the motherland, and the land of the blacks. Now, as an opener, I am a preacher and I make no claims to be a scholar, nor an anthropologist or linguist, scientist. I have studied diligently to be true biblically and theologically and anthropologically accurate, historically honest, etymologically enlightened, and scientifically sound. And I come to you this morning saying to you, as John 8:32 says, and ye shall know the truth, and that truth shall make you free. When we go to Akebulan and we see that we can call it the Akebulan Holocaust, but for the sake of the tender ears, we'll call it the African Holocaust. The African Holocaust that happened on the continent, where it was 100 million then and 100 million now starving. See, the African Holocaust has not stopped. You see, the continent of Africa, or Akebulan, feeds the world, but yet to this day have problems in feeding herself. You see, 100 million people were stolen from Africa, and trillions of money that was stolen from Africa in diamonds, gold, copper, tin, silver, natural oil, tea, gum, perfume, bananas, land, timber, chrome, soldiers, as well as diamonds, pineapple, potassium, platinum, leather, cattle, cotton, uranium, coffee, ivory, rubber, palm oil, lead, sugar, animals, fish, artifacts, magnesium, cola, iron, labor, peanuts, zinc, political economics, tobacco, limestones, and much, much more. These items were stolen from the continent of Africa, and they were stolen in the amount of trillions upon trillions of dollars. So the African Holocaust is still going on today, but very little is written about it. The continent is still feeding the world, but still struggles to feed itself. So why is that important for us as African Americans? Well, let us look and see who some of the players is going over to Africa, taking all that Africa could give. It was people, the land of Portugal, England, America, North and South. You had France, Germany, the Dutch, Spain, Italy, Israel, Japan, Arabia, Soviet Union, South Afghanistan, world traders such as Fuller, Indian, the middleman, and the Lebanese, and the middle south of Africa, and all of the countries of business involved during this so-called Holocaust. If we went to many of the people that was involved in taking the land and also colonizing Africa, We'll run into people like Lloyd Bank, the Barclay Bank, Firestone, Shell Oil, Mobil Oil. You'll run into banks of standards, the National Bank, the Providential Bank, the Procter and Gamble, and all of these Morgans. All of these banks in the United States and across the world have benefited from the African Holocaust that now has caused all of these nations to be rich. And as a result of that, they have stolen civilizations in order to create their own civilization. Now, why is this important for us to know? Well, because we have, as African Americans, we have been abused for so long until we have gotten used to the abuse. When we go to other nations, we think that they built it, not knowing that everything that's across the world came from one continent, and that continent is Al-Kabu land. When you understand that it is the land of black that God allowed to have a loving heart, a humble spirit to receive other nation, know this: if God did not allow the Africans or the Al-Kabulians to be able to have a humble and loving heart, there would be no Europe, there would be no Russia, there would be no Rome, there would be no India, there would be no Japan, there would be no Chinese languages. There would be nothing across the world without the land of the blacks called Al-Kabu land. Now, you can call her Africa, but you need to get used to her original name. Al-Kabu land is a slave name given to Rome, given to Africa by Rome because Rome conquered certain parts of Africa. Hear this: the whole continent of Africa has not been colonized, such as a place called Ethiopia. It was never colonized because the Ethiopian had an army of close to 400,000 or 500,000 soldiers, and they were ready to fight in a drop of a hat. So the whole continent of Africa has never been totally colonized, but most of it has. And as a result, Europeans and other nations go back and forth over there, rape the land, buy the land, steal the land, sell the land, do everything they can to get that land. But hear this: Africa is, or Al-Kabu land, is the land that God himself set aside. They've been robbing and raping her for the last 6,000 years, and they can never, ever exhaust her wealth. They can never, ever exhaust her wealth. Without Al-Kabu land, there would be no Americas. Without the continent, there would be no European nations. Without the continent, there would be no Rome. Without the continent, there would be no Italy. There would be no Europe. There would be nothing without Africa. You have to understand that you are a great people. You are a special people. You was born on the right team. Don't get it twisted. You are great, and greatness is in you, and can't nobody ever, ever, ever take it from you. You was born and you was made the shade that you are. Never walk around like you want to be some other color. Bump another color, except what color that God allowed you to be in, because you were born and destined for greatness. I have to say that early because they stole the land from Africa. They stole the diamonds. They stole the gold. They stole the rubies. And they went in and stole it. It's just like children coming home to mama. How many understand what I'm talking about? Children coming home to mama, and they go in the cupboard and take everything out the cupboard and take all of her food, take her jewelry, take everything from her. I mean, just leave mama bare, not knowing that mama got another supply that the children don't know about. Holler back. So sometimes when the world went back to Africa, they just went back home. Can somebody say they went back home? They just went back home. But when they went back home uncivilized. Some of the very ones that are talking about civilization have never known a civilization. never been involved in a civilization, did not understand mathematics, geometry, never looked to the stars nor the skies, never had a sailboat, never been involved in anything that's domestication of animals. Most of the stuff that they did was locked up in a cave called the Caucasian Mountain. They spent most of their time hiding out. And when they finally came to the realization that they had some power, they went everywhere they went. They called everybody else uncivilized when they've been there for centuries. So what I want you to understand, that it's time for you as African American, as black folks, to rise up and wake up and reclaim black wealth, because it's there and you have the opportunity to reclaim it and be the people of God that you need to be. And as we said in Matthew 22, verse 35 through 40, you read the last two verses of it. It says, verse 39, it says, "And the second is likened unto it, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." For us as African American, we've been trained to love everybody else and hate ourselves. But God has given you a clarion call. That is up. The time now is for you to stand up and love your blackness. Love your nappy hair. Love your full lips. Love your full hips. Love everything about you. Because God designed you to be instinctively and characteristically great on your own. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to hold your head down. You don't have to act like you're nothing. Wear your nappy hair. Make sure you know you black. And when you know you black, stand up in your blackness, because nobody else on the planet, hear me when I tell you this, nobody else on the planet care less about you. They use you to get what they want. And when they get what they want, they discard you as a dirty, nasty, filthy rag. And until we learn to stand up for ourselves and begin to do what we need to do for ourselves, we'll continually to be America's guinea pigs and America's whooping boys. We'll be the national whooping boys of the world. And God has got me here to tell you today that this is your time to shine. This is your time to stand up and be counted. Now, no, there will be some that say, well, he's preaching hate. No, I'm not preaching hate. I'm preaching love. The verse tells us to love thy neighbor as you love yourself. The question is, how can I love my neighbor when I hate myself? It's time for us to have self-love. It's time for us to love all people like we do love all people. I love all people. I love Arabs. I love Chinese, Japanese, white people, Hispanics, everybody on the planet. I have kingdom love and agape love for everybody. But it appears that they don't have that same love for me. They don't have that same agape for me. They're not really concerned about my interests. I went all over the nation and all over Illinois and many different places pushing race relations, talking about diversity, talking about why can't we just get along, talking about this and talking about that, pushing the national policy of diversity and race relations. And all I found was white folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks won't shop at black stores because there are none. Won't buy from black because they don't want to buy from black. It appears to me that we've been pushing as African Americans more self-love than other groups have been pushing self-love on us. So God has given me this mandate to cry loud and spare not, to speak truth to power, to let them know that they can't have it both ways. They can't treat us like a dog and then want our money. They can't want to lock us up in jails and prison and then want our money. They can't mistreat our children and our wives and our husbands, shoot us down, gun us down, and still want our money. They can't mistreat us and lock us up and beat us up and treat us like dogs and still want our money. I'm here today to tell you, black preachers, white preachers, wake up. We got to preach truth to power and let them know that our time has come. And it's not time to ask for a position. It's time for every black preacher, every black man, every black woman to take your position, because nothing is going to be given to you. It's time to take back our community, take back our schools, take back our houses, take back our children, take back our wealth, take back what the devil has been trying to tell us that we don't have. Now is our time, and we could care less about anybody else, what they think about us, what they know about us, because we know in the end they could care less about us. It's time to rise and reclaim black wealth. Will the church say amen? You may be seated. I just want you to understand that it's a new day. It's a new day, and it's time for us to stop waiting on people to do for us as we must do for ourselves. We've been going too long. We've been trying to help everybody else get happy to go to shop at a white store, get happy to go shop at a white mall. You love shopping at Snooks. You love shopping at Target and all these stores. But have you noticed you don't see a black Snooks? You don't see a black Target. You don't see any of those other places. Well, we got to go to Walmart when we should be helping a brother or sister to develop their own Walmart. While we always feeling at ease shopping with those that could care less about us. And we know they don't care because they lock more of us up than any other group. They ensure that drugs, guns, and gangs are in our neighborhood. They make sure that we're losing, because when we come together, help us, Holy Ghost, when we come together, there's no group on the planet that can outdo what we do. And that's why they love our money, because they know that we're going to shop and spend. But we need to stop spending our money on a bunch of dumb things and start spending our money on stuff that's going to empower each other. Look to your neighbor and say, it's time to rise. Now, I know some that may hear this CD, it's going to be tender to their ears because they have been brainwashed by Willie Lynchism. And they've been taught to serve the master and help him. But you see, from 1619 through 1865, trillions of dollars was given to America through slave labor. And we've given this country all that we have. We've given them our backs, we've given them our fronts. We've hang on trees like beautiful fruits hanging from a chandelier. We have been brutalized, mesmerized, toxified. We have been through a lot in this country. We are a special type of people. No one can go through what we've been through and still be here. We are a people that are great by the mere definition that God looked upon the continent of Al-Kabulan and decided that he wanted somebody black. Now, you can go back and read it and switch it how you want to switch it, but we know one thing, they wasn't white. And as we move on in this text, I want you to be clear about it, that we had 244 years of actual slavery, 100 years of old Jim Crow, totaling out to be 344 years of actual brutality. We've been brainwashed. Some of us are still dangling with old Willie, and we have not made it through. And therefore, even this message that I'm bringing to some of you today that may get to your ears as the lion roar, you're going to find yourselves privately saying, is this okay? Should the preacher be saying this? And some of you are going to wonder within the confines of your mind, is that, what are we going to do now? Well, the message is going to be a year-long message of not only what you're going to do or what you should do, but what you should be actively participating in. We're paying for our own destruction. You see, from 1865, after the Emancipation Proclamation, blacks had 0.5% of wealth. Today, January 1st, 2017, blacks still have 0.5% of wealth. Now, what does that mean? That means 152 years later, blacks are still in the same position. That simply means that we haven't moved. And the reason why we haven't moved is because we found it necessary to be around people that could literally care less about us. And before the law that was passed in 1954, and that was the desegregation passed under Brown versus the Board of Education, as well as the Supreme Court overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, broke up separate but equal. But before then, we go back to after 1865, 1867, 1868, we roll all the way up to the 1900s as far as 1912. Blacks had more wealth, more land. There was movie theaters, black bus lines, black hospitals, black mortuaries, black banks. We had more wealth back then than we do now. Black university, there's still a few that are hanging around, but they're hanging on a thread because many of us would prefer to be taught by white educators rather than be taught by black educators. And as a result, we are paying for our own demise. And then we point the finger and say, why won't they help us? I'm here today to tell you they are not going to help you. Get over that. Why won't they give me a job when you're supposed to have a business to give your own people a job? Why won't they help me make a way? Well, they're not going to help you make a way. And if they do help you make a way, believe to me, there's a hook to it. And everything that I'm saying to you this morning, I'll say before the massive. I have nothing to hide because they know they're wrong. They know they're wrong. They know they've been manipulating you from the time you came out of slavery. The moment you left slavery in the year of 1619, they released you like a dog to the streets and said, do the best you can. Hope you find a bone. And we have moved forward, and we've been fighting every step of the way. Know this, the white man has never given black folks anything free. Everything we get, we have to march for it. Everything we have to march for civil rights. We have to walk around with signs saying that I am a man, because the law said you were 3/5 human. Everything we get, we have to march for it, fight for it. There's never anything that come to us easy. Even with the affirmative action dealing with Title IX, you're talking about affirmative action, we didn't benefit from that because at least 85 to 90% of all that benefit from affirmative action are all white females. And the white females have tricked some of our silly sisters, got you thinking that you're part of the feminist movement and you know, women gonna come together. How is a majority of a majority going to come together with a so-called minority and come together? If she's white and married to a white man, they are a majority couple. The key is she get your benefits while he maintain his. Oh, we've been tricked. We've been bamboozled. We just flat out have been lied to. And because the lie is dressed up in a nice little dress, we went along with it. What am I trying to tell you? I want you to understand how this is happening. What is really going on in your life? We also look at the law of desegregation. We give you that. The law of integration, which didn't work well for black folks. Integration did not work for us. Now, what does that mean? That means that the moment we integrate, we begin to give away things. It did not work for us. As blacks, we lost more than any other race group under the so-called integration law. As blacks, we was trying to prove to whites that we are worthy to live with them, to go to their schools, to marry their daughters and sons, and live just like white folks live. We was trying to prove to them that I'm a man. I can have what you have. I want what you got. And therefore, we forfeited our communities in order to live in white ones. We forfeited our black hotels in order to stay in white ones. We forfeited our black hospitals in order to be treated in white ones. We forfeited our black universities in order to learn at white ones. We forfeited our national think tanks in order to be a part of white ones. We forfeited our black bus line in order to ride on the back of white bus line. We forfeited so much until even to this day we don't realize how much that we gave up through integration. Integration did not, will not, and will never work in America for black people. It appears that every other ethnic group understands that but us. The Asians understand that. They set up little town called Little Asian. The Chinese understand that. They got Chinatowns in every major city in America. You know, all other groups, the Iraqis understand that. The Hispanics understand that. They got little Hispanic towns everywhere you go. Everybody understands that but black folks. What do? We shop at Hispanic town. We get Chinatown. We go to Asian stores. We buy our hair from Asian stores. Everybody understands that integration has never worked. And then they try to trick you with this divergent tactic talking about diversity. Diversity simply means diversion, to take your mind off of the power that you have, to take your mind off of the wealth that you have. And I was guilty of teaching diversity. There's no such thing as diversity. It's called race relation. I was guilty of saying, why can't everybody all get along? Why can't black folks and white folks get along? But they was playing three-card Molly with me. They was doing the overlay for the underplay. They love to put out preachers and put people out front that can bring groups together while they maintain their fort. What is their fort? Their businesses. What is their fort? Their neighborhoods. What is their fort? Their power. And they demand that you come and shop at their power while you make no gains in your own community. We've been played. But we know about how to play the game because we're good at what we do. And now it's our time to reclaim black wealth. And I know this may be tender to your ears because some of you are not used to this type of teaching. You like it is. You love to have a job rather than own up your business, knowing that a job only takes you so far. But a business is generational wealth. That's why they love to hire you, and they're quick to fire you on any little stupid thing you do. And you have the nerve to get mad at them because they don't want you on their job anymore, when in fact, when they built the business, they never had you in mind. And that's why they always give you tokenism. I'll just throw through a few Hispanics and a few Negroes in to keep the law off of me. But their superintendent is, we didn't want to hire you anyway. Now this is real talk. And the reason why some of us are where we are is because we don't want real talk. I want my children and grandchildren to start thinking business, owning your own stuff. You do the hiring. And when you hire people, hire black first, and then hire other folks. Because that's what they've been doing for 400 years. They never took us into consideration. Now, you can't come at me talking about, well, he's a racist or he don't like white folk. I've already proven that I'm seasoned in what I do. I've already been to the other side. As Martin said, I've seen the mountaintop. And I know at the top ain't nothing up there but 1%. And most of them are all white, pushing white power, and could care less about anybody else. Oh, you're not used to this, aren't you? But you're going to get used to it because you're going to be hearing it most of the year, if not all. You see, we forfeited our black banks in order to put our money into white banks who will not give you a loan. There are many, many things that we forfeited because we wanted so much to be accepted by white people and other groups. That's did not happen. Hear me now. They did not accept you, and they're not going to accept you. And if they do accept you, they're not accepting you, they're accepting the money that you bring to them. They're accepting the money that you bring to them. And until we understand that we are disposable, it's like a Kleenex. You're disposable. They can blow their nose on you and toss you away. You're disposable. Fact about it, when we get into the next, as we move forward, you're going to see how disposable you are. You're disposable to those that want to use you and get your money. But when we come together and start setting up our universities, start setting up our black banks, start setting up our car dealerships, start creating our own cars. The white man is not the only person. Matter of fact, every car he created, he got it from a brother right up there in Ohio. He was the original first, and his name is Peterson. He was the original first black person to ever build a car in America, and he built it before Henry Ford. He built it before Henry Ford. He never got credit for building automobiles. I'm talking about a car. They stole his stuff, took his ideas, and made them as their own. He built it before Henry Ford. If he was present today, the media would go crazy over him. But there are scholars right in this room. There are scholars that are listening to me talk about this right now. I know your ears may be hurting, or some of you may be in the awakening phase saying, wow, this is what I've been needing to hear for the last 50 years. And if you're in the house, somebody say, this is what I need. You see, there are many things that we've done, but we wanted so much to fit in, to get in, and to get in to fit in. We have accepted all groups, but all groups have not accepted us. No, this is not hate speech. No, this is not we're against them. What this is that we're for ourselves. Hear me now. Nobody get upset when the Jews do it. They do it every day. Nobody get upset when the Asians do it. They're doing it right now. You can't wait to go to China quick to get some. But what is there? The black store where you can go and get something from. Holla back. See, we got to be more creative and stop boxing ourselves in, trying to support people that could care less about you. I've been there. I've shopped there. I've been to the malls and stores in the mall. I see the disdain in their eyes, but when I pull out money, they smile. There's a place that I go to, and when I go shop, and I go to buy some food from them, and I'm not going to call their name, but I'm angry while paying for it. And that's why I say we need to seek out some places, some good black businesses. And if you got to drive that extra 20 minutes or that extra hour, drive it. If you got to pay $25 more, pay it. Until our brothers and sisters can come to understand that we need corporate economics to pull ourselves up. No longer can we be jealous of somebody that's doing better than us. We have to decide that I'm going to support it because I know they went through hell to get where they're at. They're not there by accident. They had to fight for it. We have accepted all groups, but all groups have not accepted us. And if they will accept you, they're only accepting you for your buying power. Get this. As African American, we make $1.5 trillion a year. I didn't say billion, I didn't say million. I said trillions a year. And it leaves our community between 15 seconds to 6 hours. We're paying for our own demise. And we want the white man to come into our communities and make things right. Build us a school. Stop taking a victim stand. Build us some houses. White man, when are you going to come to our neighborhood? When are you going to come straighten these gangs out? When are you going to come in and get rid of crime out of our neighborhood? White man, what's wrong with you? When are you going to come and help us? Why won't you rescue us, white man? We need you, master. Please, master. Master, sir, when you coming to help us out? Hear me now. He ain't coming. He gonna drive by, but he ain't gonna stop. And while he's driving by, he's locking his doors. He's saying to you, by not giving you what you want him to, he's no longer your master. He's no longer your slave owner. He's no longer over you. You are in this diaspora called America, and it's time for you as black people to rise. It's time to get up. You've been asleep too long. It's time to rise. And not just rise through mediocrity, but rise in excellence. You see, when we begin to rise, knowing that here's one of our biggest problems that as African Americans we've had in America. We're happy to integrate. We're happy to be around white folks because it makes us feel good. Some of us anyway. We get happy when they invite us to their houses. We get happy when we're on their team. We get happy, oh, I'm around the white folks. And the white folks are saying, oh, you deluded fool. Why can't you get something for yourself? Hear this. He's tired of being your master. And that's why you think with this election, you think things going to get better? No, you finna find out who you with. You're no longer a slave. You are a freedman. You're no longer docile. You are educated. You're no longer living in the back. You up front now. You're no longer poor. You are rich. You're no longer struggling physically, materially. Your main struggle is psychologically. You still have the change on your mind. You still have the Willie Lynch effect and the Willie Lynch syndrome in your heart. And as a result, when it's time to move to do something that is for black folks, you got to run like Sambo to the master and ask the master, is this okay? Look at the city of Detroit, chocolate city, Washington, D.C., another chocolate city. The advancement of the automobile industry was booming. But we had some Negroes in office that wanted to bypass the strategy of one of my mentors to go do his own thing, and he's now in federal penitentiary. Because we got to get the white man's attention. Yes, sir, my sir. Is it okay for us to start a business in this town? White man gonna say, since you're asking me, no. Why? He don't want you to ask him to, he wants you to take your position. Take your position. So here's what black people didn't understand that everybody else got, but we didn't get. See, as blacks, we were so happy to integrate, but did not understand aggregation. So we was happy for integration, but had no understanding of aggregation, not knowing that we can integrate as long as we aggregate. Aggregation simply means to use your resources to encourage and to help your own people. That's why the Hispanic don't have no problem with integrating in America. They just set up Hispanic town. The Chinese said, we're going to integrate, but we're going to aggregate. Holla back. We're going to integrate, but we're going to aggregate. What does aggregation mean? They brought their resources together as one group, as one power, and therefore that's why they can open up businesses. That's why they can open up hotels. That's why they can have restaurants. That's why they can have cab services. That's why they can do that. They pool all of their monies together. They got integration, but they also got aggregation. We just happy to integrate. I'm going to integrate, and I'm going to all your stores, white people. Now, I got some new stores to go to, as black people say. I can go to Asian food market. I can go to Hispanic places. I can use construction people from Hispanic because they're supposed to work hard. I can do all of these things. I got all these people to go and give my $1.5 trillion to while I remain broke. Can you see why I have to deal with this? You're paying everybody, but you're not paying yourself. You're helping everybody, but you're not helping yourself. You let them move into your inner cities and they buy blocks that you previously owned, and now you're going to their store, buying their weaves, buying their wigs, buying their food, buying everything from them in a place where you used to own. Oh, you know how to integrate. You want everybody to love you, so that's easy for black folks is to integrate. We were the first one that was accepting, black and white couples together before the law was passed in the 1960s. We're good at accepting people. We're masterful at that. But check this out. They're not good at accepting you. Fact about it, they don't really like you at all. But they love to see you come and buy their food and buy their clothes. How many can attest to this? Raise your hand. Talk back to me. How many of you ever went to a place where you were shopping and you knew they didn't like you? You could feel the vibe. And they were serving you because they felt like they had to. But they can't be mean to you because they know that if they be mean to you, you'll stop shopping. But some of these Negroes get cussed out, talked about. They watch you every place you go in the store, through the mall, and you just keep on shopping there. The new day is here. Playtime is over. And I pray to God that every black pastor that's listening, that will hear this CD, begin to jump on board and be what he know he can be. And it ain't about hate, this is about love. It's about loving your people enough to tell them the truth. We have nothing in America but $1.5 trillion that we give away every year. Know this, you don't have to believe anything that I'm saying. Do your own research. And when you do your own research, you're going to come back with just the fire I have, and your blaze may be a little bit higher. Why? Because now you're going to see how you've been played, or how you allowed yourself to be played. So it's okay to integrate as long as we aggregate. That's what everybody else do. They integrate, then they aggregate. Integrate, aggregate. What we do, integrate, and then we give everything else to everybody else. Then you wonder why we don't have black communities anymore. We have neighborhoods. See, a community is where you got a store at, is where you have a bank at. A community is where you have all the things that you need to make up a community. You got a church, you got a store, you have banks, you have grocery stores, you have cleaners, you have beauty parlors, you have salons, you have barbershops, you have all bus lines, you have all of those things. That's what make up a community. Right now, I live in a community that have all of those things. So if you're not careful, you'll think because you live in a community that have all of those things that you're okay. But the community that I live in is predominantly white. And I have everything that I need in those predominantly white communities. Why? It's because white people have set a community up for themselves. And they decide who they want to live in those communities. Well, how do they do that? Taxes. If they don't want you there and they know you don't make much money, they raise their taxes to keep you out. It's not that you can't pay the note, you can't pay the taxes. So where you go live? You go live in neighborhoods. You find a neighborhood to live in because the tax is going to be low. And most of the time we find ourselves living in what was black communities that have now turned into black ghettos, and you're living in those ghettos and barrios, calling it a community, but still in those ghettos and barrios, you still won't aggregate. And since you won't aggregate, no one wants to live in a place, especially where blacks are, where you don't see at least one nice looking house. You don't see somebody living nice down there. Most blacks want to go to a place where they can feel they ain't got to worry about being robbed. They ain't got to worry about their kids joining gangs. They ain't got to worry about guns and all that. So they come to the high tax area, set their TP up, and they live there, and they call it, well, hey, this is it. I made it out. No, we need to be making it back in. Whether you're living on the hill, you still need to go to the valley. Whether you drive a Mercedes-Benz, you still need to visit that person that's walking. We got to reclaim it. And the only way we can reclaim it is that we have to know what it is. You can't reclaim something unless you know what it is. When I grew up, I lived in a black community. I was taught by black teachers all the way until 1971, when the integration law finally made it to Mississippi. I saw black hospitals in Mississippi. I saw black grocery stores right down the street. I saw black professors living in nice homes. I saw a black university not even 100 yards from where I lived at. I was raised in that atmosphere. I saw what it is to be taught by a black professor. If you're at a black school, a black professor is not just teaching you mathematics, he's teaching you how to apply what you learn with the massive, those that are in the world, and particularly at that time, white folks. You couldn't just be average, you had to be above average. You couldn't just do what they do, you had to be twice as good as they are, just to even get the job. And some of our young people have missed it because they think it's given that you're going to give it. No, they done flip the script on you now. You better know who you are. You better know your culture. You better know your race, because when you're through with everything else, that's what you're going back to. Integrate and aggregate and love everybody. Hear me now. Integrate, aggregate, but love everybody. And to show your love for everybody, spend your money with yourself first. I'm not a segregationist. I believe in Marcus Garvey. There are a few other brothers that I believe in. This has been brewing for years. I'm just in love with my people. And it's real love. From my studies, from where I came from, being chased by the Ku Klux Klan, is anybody supposed to be hating folks? It's supposed to be me. Going to white colleges and hearing the N-word like singing songs. Still have agape love for everybody. But now it's surgical. I'm not shooting a shotgun effect. I'm trying to get our people to wake up before we be locked in on a permanent underclass forever. And most of the scholars that I talk to and that I read are already saying we made it there in 2012. And many of us didn't even know it. It's time to be conscious, amen? So the question is, where has the money gone? African American buying power is $1.5 trillion, according to the Nelson Company. Make us relevant than ever as black consumers. Nelson also says blacks are currently 43 million strong in population. The report also says black watches TV more than any other group. 37% of us make more shopping trips, purchase more ethnic and beauty and grooming products. We like to look good. We like to wear our diamonds and our gold and our jewelry, but we go buy them from everybody else. Said blacks read more financial magazines, spend more time on personal websites, Facebook, YouTube, chat rooms, Twitter, and others. We love the shiny things, the pretty things. You know, the things you give a monkey or a gorilla, and they get fascinated by it, not knowing that that's the overplay, that's the overlay for the underplay, to get you mesmerized in stuff that gonna wear out in 2-3 months, and got your silly self buying another phone, and as soon as you buy another one, before 6 months go, that one done wore out, and you spending $900-$1,000 on a phone. You look at your budget, you done bought 3 phones in a year, and spent close to $1,500 on 3 phones. That the only thing you really getting out of it is playtime. Seeing who tweeting you, who texting you, when all you need is a ringtone. Hello and goodbye. You caught up in the toys. You don't want to see faces nor hear voices. So you've been bamboozled with the trinkets. And that $1,500 that you're paying on the phone could be put up in savings for your son or your daughter to go to college, preferably a black university. Now, you can do what you want to do, but as you become conscious, there are some places that you just ain't going to want to go. When you become conscious, that means awaken, and bump this stay woke and get up out the bed and do something. See, you can be a sleepwalker that look like you're woke, but really sleep. Holla back. We want to see some activity, right? So African Americans make an average of 156 shopping trips per year, compared with 146 for the total population marketing strategy. We're outdoing everybody. We love to shop. Years ago, they would never say, just give them money because they're going to spend it anyway, because they had respect for African Americans years ago, because African Americans years ago were people that would hold on to money. They weren't just spending money. After coming out of the Depression of 1920 through 1929, we learned how to save. But these bourgeois Negroes today, they even saying, you just give them $2, I guarantee they're going to spend all of it. You give them $100, it's gone today. Just give them something, they're going to spend it. And that's what keeps the economy going. They're depending on you to keep doing what you're doing. Give them $50,000, they'll be broke in 2 weeks. My bad, 2 days. Holla back. We love to spend because we like those shiny, pretty things. Now, there's nothing wrong with it because that is the king and the queen in you. Your DNA speaks of royalty, and you like looking good. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You like looking good. That's a part of your DNA. But why can't you buy your jewelry from a black jewelry store? Why can't you buy your clothing from a black clothing store? Here's the reason why you can't do it. It's because there are not many, and in some cases there are none that are out there. We're paying for our own destruction. And as I wrap this up, African American, as I said, make an average of 156 shopping trips per year compared to 146 for the total population marketing strategy. You know what? They don't even have to market to black folks. They can market to black folks by simply sending out a tweet. And all the tweet has to say, New Jordans. And Negroes run into every athletic store they can find and spending all their money on one tweet. Holla back. Or if they say new bag for the females, new dress, whatever that dress is. Oh, girl, I got to go get that. I just got to have me, what is that, a Chanel bag or whatever? I don't know what the bags are. But whatever it is, if they would tweet it, Negroes will flop to it. You know what that saved them? That saved them close to $100 million of marketing to you. And the reason why they don't have to market to you, because you market to yourself. Well, how do you market to yourself? You see, man, they got some new Jordans. You know about them new Jordans? Yeah, man, I'm going to get some. How about you, man? Don't forget to tell Ray. Man, you make sure you tell Boo Boo over there. They got the new Jordan. Whatever you do, man, you tell Listen over there so they can go get it. So all they got to do is say new Jordan. You do the rest. Holla back. Because they know you're dumb enough to go take your last money and go buy some toys and some trinkets and them shiny, pretty things. Kids don't have a college fund. You complain about going to a black business and say their price is too high, not knowing that the person been working on that thing for 10 years and didn't have no corporate economics nor rotating economics. All he or she has with the money they have in the bank. They couldn't buy in bulk. They just had to buy a little bit at a time. When they buy a little bit at a time, they got to make some money off what they bought so they can get something back. But see, that's integration. But what the Asians do, they move in aggregation. They take 30 of them together and they go buy in bulk. They buy a bunch of product for 2 stores. And you wonder why you got that weave for $50. Some of you can go places and get them for almost nothing. Why? Because they aggregate. They come together. You get mad when you pay prices a little bit more at a black store. You're frustrated. That's why I don't shop at black business. They charge too much. Well, how much more do they charge? Girl, it was $5. I can go to the Asian shop. I can get the same thing for $5 less. See, you don't understand the concept. You don't understand what's going on. You don't get it. She went and ordered, and they triple charged her over where she got it from. She had to at least get $5 off the wig you buying. You thinking she's making a lot of money because she's selling it high? She's selling it high so she can get some back. Then you go to the Asian stores, and she's selling you a $100 wig for $55. You say, oh, girl, that's a good bargain. That's a good bargain. Went over to the black store. Man, you know, their stuff is too high. They use aggregation, corporate economics. They purchase corporately. They buy together. That's why they can sell you a product for less, 25% less. That's why they can do it. And you cussing at the black business owner. You talking bad about them and saying, why won't they bring down their prices? Well, why don't you go in business with them to help them so they can bring down their prices? How many understand between integration and aggregation? See, there's nothing wrong with integration as long as you aggregate. If you're not willing to aggregate, what you integrating for? When every other group come over to America, the first thing they get when they settle in this country, we must aggregate. We work together to build our communities. Amen? So African Americans shop more frequently at smaller retail convenience stores. We shop at dollar stores, beauty supply stores, are all populated in the black community, and we own none of them. We're paying for our demise. Yes, our spending power is at $1.5 trillion a year. We have the money, and now we have the smarts to reclaim our wealth and to build our families, communities, schools, businesses, and all of the other things we had centuries ago. So where has the money gone? We forfeited it along with other groups, and to other groups. Now it's time for reclaiming black wealth. It's time for you to go home and look at the places that you shop to. It's time for you to set aside a black business that you're going to support, and you're going to support annually or for the rest of your life. It's time for you to fill up your gas tank and say, if I got to go an extra 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles to support a black business, that is what I am doing. It's time for you not to be complaining about their prices, but understand this. In order for them to be in the business in America and to have a flourishing business, they had to pay a price. It's time for us as African Americans to stop supporting everybody else's businesses, but not supporting our own. If it was up to me, we would have a blackout of every mall within 50-mile radius where we wouldn't shop at no malls for at least 30 to 60 days. And when you walk up in there on the 60th day, they will treat you like you are a god. Our issue is we want to march around the block. Let's march. We shall overcome. You want to march around there. They don't respect that. They slap your women, beat your women, stomp your women, rape your women, pistol whip your women on national TV. And what do? We march. They shooting our sons and our daughters down. What do? We march. We have these slogans, Black Lives Matter. But to who? Who do Black Lives Matter to? It should matter first to us as a people. No one else cares about what you think about that. We love to ask the question, Black Lives, the master is not going to save you. And many of us, some of you, your master is the white man. He is not going to save you. When he police your communities, he's hoping to God that some black men and black women will stand up and make their children act right. Stand up and hold your children accountable. Stand up and get them out of gang. Stand up and help them to be the men and women that they want to be. And if they fall down, you pick them back up and make them stand up and be what they need to be. No longer can we wait on the white man to come and raise our children and to protect us from our own children in our own neighborhoods and communities. We must arise and reclaim black wealth not just in money, but in our mind, in our will, in our emotion, in our neighborhood, in every facet of life. We must arise and reclaim black wealth, period. Will the church say amen? Now, I want you to schedule in your heart, take some time out, and find a legitimate black business that you can support. We're talking about a real one. When you go there, be sure to tell them, my pastor said that this is what we're going to be doing, and as long as your business is above board, we're going to be supporting you. And if one of you find a real good business that you think that the whole church can get behind, let me know. We're going to not just talk about it, but we're going to be about it. And let that business owner know that we're going to support him. Now, I need you to do this ASAP. Because as we move forward in this year, we will be having some of those black business owners to come to the church. And they will get a chance to share with you how much your support means. So we're doing what we should have done years and years ago. We can't wait. The time is now. No longer can we sit by and pay for our own demise. It's time for us as blacks to rise. And rise without apologizing. Rise without putting your head down, worrying about if you're hurting white folks' feelings or anybody else's feelings, because they do not care about your feelings. All they want is $1.5 trillion of your money annually. And when you begin to understand what this is about, it's about aggregation, not just integration. If you receive that, give God a hand praise in the house of God.